A television commercial. Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. A newspaper article. How do all these types of writings differ? Well, they all have one key difference. One important thing that separates each from the other. That difference? They all have a different author's purpose. A television commercial is designed to sell you something, to make you want to buy something you might not otherwise want to pay for. Twilight is a novel, written to amuse and entertain you, while a newspaper article is written to give you information that you might not already have known. It's important to be able to determine why an author wrote what he or she wrote, and that's the purpose of today's notes, to help us determine the author's purpose of a piece of writing. Our topic, which will go at the top of your Cornell notes, is author's purpose. You want to write that just at the top of your Cornell notes where it says topic and objective. You'll also want to include your name, class and period, and today's date. Let's talk about today's objectives. There are two of them, but you don't need to write either of them down. Our first objective. We want to be able to identify the author's purpose for a work of literature. And our second objective, we want to be able to distinguish between the author's purpose of two or more different works of literature. Now let's move on to our guiding question. This is something you will need to write down. Our guiding question: how does the purpose for a piece of writing change how that literature is written? This should be written at the top of your page, just below where you wrote today's topic. Now we're ready to take some notes. Let's begin by defining author's purpose. What exactly is the author's purpose anyway? When authors write, they usually have a specific goal or purpose in mind. This is referred to as the author's purpose for writing a text. Understanding the author's purpose helps you better understand what you are reading and classify the type of writing. Now, determining an author's purpose is relatively easy. In fact, one might say it's as easy as pi. Pi is an acronym. An acronym, of course, is a word where each of the letters stands for something different. And we'll want to write this down in our notes. There's the P, the I, and the E. The P in pi stands for persuade. The I in pi stands for inform. And the E in pi stands for entertain. These are the three main author's purpose, and let's take a closer look at each of them. Let's begin by looking at what it means to persuade. Here's the definition. To persuade means to convince someone to do something they might not otherwise do. For example, our little doggy friend right here is begging. He's begging because he wants you to do something that you may not want to do, namely, give him some food. The examples of persuasive writing, and there are many, are things like newspaper editorials. These are articles that appear in the newspaper that give a person's opinion. Commercials, like the type we see on TV or hear on the radio. Political speeches from individuals who want us to vote for them. And persuasive essays, the kinds we write in our English class. Some of the key words that might clue us into a persuasive writing are as follows. The word convince, influence, argue, debate, or plead. All of these words have something to do with persuading. Our second type of author's purpose is to inform. To inform means to give a reader facts about something they might not have known. For example, the types of things that you might see when watching the news. Some examples of informative writing are newspaper articles. Now, these aren't to be confused with newspaper editorials. Newspaper articles, which is the majority of what you'll see in the newspaper, do not contain opinions, and they're designed solely for the purpose of informing. Essays, the types of writings you might do in your English class, specifically expository writing, which are designed to explain things. Informative articles. These are the types of articles that you might find in places other than a newspaper, such as on a website. Or encyclopedia entries, things that you might find in an encyclopedia designed to tell you about something you did not already know. Some examples of keywords that might clue you into something that is written to inform. Words like explain, inform, clarify, reveal, or give facts. All of these are things tied into informing a reader. Our third and final type of author's purpose is to entertain. To entertain means to give the reader something that he or she will enjoy. This is text that is written with the sole purpose of being enjoyable. Kind of like when you're on a roller coaster or at an amusement park or doing anything else that's designed to be fun. Example of writing that entertains are short stories and novels, plays designed to be acted out or just read aloud, poems, and movies and TV shows. Keep in mind that movies and TV shows have scripts that are written just like anything else that we might read. Some keywords that are connected to entertain are as follows: amuse, perform, imagine, or excite. Each of these words can clue you in that you might be looking at something designed to entertain. Now, to help you determine the author's purpose for a given text, ask yourself the following questions as you read. The first question: what do you think the author was trying to accomplish in writing this text? Question number 2. What does the author want you as a reader to think, feel, or do? And the third question: who was this text written for? Answering these questions can help you figure out what the author's purpose is for something that you're reading. Let's take a look at some examples. We're going to watch 3 videos. Each one of the videos has a different author's purpose, and we'll see if we can determine what the purpose of that video is. Here's our first one. What do you think is the author's purpose of this video?
At this defining moment in our history, the question's not, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? We all know the answer to that. The real question is, will our country be better off 4 years from now? How will we lift our economy and restore America's place in the world? Here's what I'll do as president. To deal with our current emergency, I'll launch a rescue plan for the middle class that begins with a tax cut for 95% of working Americans. If you have a job, pay taxes, and make less than $200,000 a year, you'll get a tax cut. I'll end the tax breaks for companies that ship our jobs overseas and give them to companies that create jobs here in America. And I'll make low-cost loans available to small businesses. To build our economy for the future, I'll focus on our urgent national priorities: reducing the cost of health care, breaking our dependence on foreign oil, and making sure that every child gets the education they need to compete. How will I pay for these priorities? First, we've got to stop spending $10 billion a month in Iraq while they run up a surplus. I'll end this war responsibly so we can invest here at home. We'll monitor the Wall Street rescue plan carefully, making sure taxpayers are protected and CEOs don't game the system. I'll let the temporary Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest 2% expire and close the corporate tax loopholes the lobbyists put in. I'll order a top-to-bottom audit of government spending and eliminate programs that don't work. We face real challenges, and they won't be easy to solve. But we can do it if we end the mindless partisanship, the divisiveness, curb special interest power, and restore our sense of common purpose. I'm Barack Obama. I approve this message and ask for your vote, because if we stand together, we can meet our challenges and ensure that there are better days ahead.
So, what was the purpose of that video? If you said that the purpose of that video was to persuade, you are correct. This video was from the 2008 presidential campaign, and Barack Obama was trying to persuade people to vote for him. Apparently, he did a pretty good job because he won not only that election, but the election that came 4 years later. So that's our example of what it looks like to persuade someone. Let's take a look at another one. Example number 2. What is the author's purpose of this video?
This isn't so bad. It's fun, actually.
So did you guess it? Well, it's kind of obvious. The purpose of this video is to entertain. This video is taken from the movie The Water Horse, which is a fictional account of a young boy who encounters an egg for the Loch Ness Monster. The purpose of this video is to entertain viewers by showing them what the Loch Ness Monster might look like if he were real. Obviously, because he's not real, this is probably written to entertain. Let's look at one more. Time for one more example. Take a look at this video and see if you can figure out its author's purpose.
At 23 miles long and a mile wide, Loch Ness is the largest lake in Scotland, holding more water than all the lakes and rivers in England and Wales combined. At a depth of 800 feet, it is deeper than the North Sea, which it connects to by way of the River Ness and the Moray Firth. The water is dark from soil runoff and extremely cold. And it protects an ancient secret.
So what do you think? Well, we've only got one author's purpose that we haven't looked at. So if you said that the purpose of this video is to inform, then you are correct. This video was designed to inform viewers about Loch Ness and to give some information about the legend of the Loch Ness Monster. It's not trying to persuade us that the Loch Ness Monster exists or doesn't exist, and unlike our last video, it isn't designed to give us information that is not factual. So the purpose of this video is to inform. On to the reflection. Of course, no set of Cornell notes is complete without a reflection. And for these Cornell notes, we'll want to close by answering these two important questions. First, why is determining the author's purpose important? And second, what was the author's purpose of the last thing that you read, and how do you know? If you can answer these two questions, then you'll have a complete reflection. And just like that, we're finished with our Cornell notes. But remember, when you're looking for the author's purpose, determining the author's purpose is as easy as P-I-E, pie. This is Mr. Washington, signing off.